this little version of a vacuum cleaner, you all know what it is, you all know how it works, you all know what it does in our homes. So what I'm here to talk about today is this little fellow on steroids. And a pneumatic vacuum weight system with underground pipes is basically a huge version of this one. So instead of a plastic tube, we have steel tubes. Instead of a nozzle, we have inlets. And the machine, that's the collection station. So the whole idea with this is just to get you a picture of what we are about to talk about, because the principles are exactly the same. And it all started with this man on the right. His name is Olof Hallström. He bought a small central vacuum cleaning company, and we went to a hospital 500 kilometers north of Stockholm and trying to sell them a central vacuum cleaning system. He was an engineer, and his company's name was Centralsug. The translation of that we don't need to go into. But being there, he asked the engineering team in the hospital if you can take the dust with the central vacuum cleaning system. Why can't we build a system to take the waste? So, and this was late 50s. So he went back to Stockholm, made his designs, and early 60s he came back with a solution, which the engineering team in the hospital accepted. And 1962, the first pneumatic vacuum weight system was inaugurated, and he was awarded with a prize of design, mechanical design, excellence in engineering, because it was a completely new system. And the most remarkable thing is, this hospital still operates today. I mean, this is about to be 70 years. So the quality of the main system, the mechanics, is very solid. So it's a tested, proved system that has been in the Stockholm area for a long time. And having this success, he went back to Stockholm and he tried to convince one municipality, let's build the system. So it was done. They started in 1965, and the first system that came had a pipe diameter of 600 millimeters. So it was a massive pipe. So you had massive exhausters to create the airflow to transport the waste. However, they went for it, and over the years, now I'm going to use this pointer. You see this building? It was in operation with the old pipe system, installed in 1965, up until 2002. Sorry, this up until 2002, and this took over in 2002. And then they built a new station, where they replaced the pipe system to 400 millimeters, which is, nowadays, 400 millimeters is the optimum for energy efficiency and wear and tear of the pipes. So I've been doing this since 1994. I started out in the company Centralsug, who later transformed into the company NVAC, who is the world leader in this field. And in 2008, I got the opportunity to move to Middle East and be head of operations for all the vacuum weight in Saudi Arabia, Dubai, India, Kuwait. So I stayed there until 2019, where I got the opportunity to work for a municipality in Sweden. This was a job I always wanted. So I left a very good pay in Dubai to go back to the municipality to be able to implement the ideas we had over the years to develop the systems. And the system itself, we have the disposal points, we have the underground tubing, and outside the residence area is the collection station. Currently we are running 3 fractions: residual waste, plastic packaging, and newspaper. At any time we can change the fractions, but these are the municipality decided fractions. Each container can take 60 cubic meters of uncompacted waste. So the amount of transport we save by building this system is quite fantastic actually. The type of inlets we use, you can have them indoors, you can have them in the sidewalk, but one of the things we have, public litter bins, self-emptying, meaning that there's no bag in there. It's just a valve going down to the system, meaning that there is no staff is going there to empty. It's done automatically, any time of the day, 24/7, whenever it's needed. And the design criteria that we have for the system in the municipality is that the pipe has the 80 years is the lifespan that we expect, meaning that we need to have thicker diameter, costing a bit more, but the lifespan is very important. We have a constant inner diameter of 400 millimeters. And we aim now to build cost-effective collection station. I will come back to that later. But cost-effective, that is what we need to, because it's very expensive to install. So we need at least 1,000 households to have a system in the development. And financing. The total cost, the model we use in Stockholm today, the total cost of the system is divided by the number of square meters that people are living on. So the main system, the collection station and the pipeline, is paid commonly for everybody that is connecting to the system. Each plot, each builder has to install his own valves, his own pipes, so that's its own cost. And the operational cost, since we have a monopoly of collecting the waste, it's covered by tax, and it's approximately 70 euros per year and apartment. And that is covering the three fractions: residual waste, paper and plastic. And if you go to the square meters for installing it, the average price is 25 euros per square meter if you have a development. A normal development household has between 12,000 and 15,000 square meters. And we have the largest urban project that we have in Sweden today is the Royal Seaport. And it's going to be, in the future, it's going to be 12,000 new homes and 35,000 workplaces. But the big thing here, this is a hub for innovation, sustainability. So all sustainable new projects is run in this project. So it's very unique in that sense. And it's built, if you look at this one, these are the old gas clocks, where the gas came in and it was heating the city. They will keep those buildings. They will make an amphitheater of those two, for instance. Of course, connected to the vacuum system. On the map, this we have built. This is yet to be built. So the scale is up to 2052. So I won't be there to see it, but we are designing the vacuum system for this, and it's going to be very interesting. Oh, something happened to this picture. It was around this area. These are the 3,300 households we have connected to the system today. All the way up here is going to be connected. The collection station in this area, and the longest suction distance that we have is 1,300 meters. So you can imagine that you save transport from this. So we collect waste from all of this area to one single point. Since space we don't have in Stockholm, none. So we did it like the dwarves in Lord of the Rings. We went into the mountain. And this was the most expensive station we ever built. It's a huge space down where we have the containers. You saw from the picture, you have the green pipe that's coming in with the waste. But the thing is, this is not cost effective. So the new idea that we have is that small modular collection stations. If you think of nuclear power plants, small modular reactors, that's what we were thinking. Build them small, functional, cheap. We put solar cells on the roof. We have battery inside. And basically this is cutting the cost with 80% for the collection station. And that makes it more profitable for us to build them. Maybe we can go down to 500 apartments. The benefit of the system is less traffic. The heavy traffic inside the area is reduced with 90%. And big waste trucks, when you have children running around, it's not good. And you see the green dot, the green square on the top, that is the collection station, and it's covering this whole area. And the longest suction distance we can have is around 3 kilometers in each direction. So a circle around the station could be 3 kilometers on each direction. We don't waste space on the streets. We can build it with proper inlet. We can have pedestrian path, bicycle roads, parks. So there'll be more vibrant streets. So these are the benefits of having this system, because you take the waste management on the ground. And the development of the system has been digitalized. So this is the area in Royal Seaport that we see. We have all information of how high the levels are, if the valve is open, if it's closed, and this is all in the web, so we can monitor everything as we please. We get reports and energy reports, so it's a very open way to see the status of the waste in the area. And in Stockholm, you see those arrows. Those are locations where pneumatic vacuum systems they have been built since 1960. And these are the big systems. There are many small systems also that is built by private owners. But all of these is big systems where you can draw a circle around, showing the area that they are covering. And now I'm going to talk about something else that is a problem in most cities, I believe. Littering in the streets. In Stockholm we do measurements in 3 locations in the city, and we have 200 points in each location of 10 square meters, where we measure how much litter in items there are. So we have in Bromma, we have in Kungsholmen, and we have in Farsta. So these areas they are measured over and over and over. And we started 2009, and the result, we can see from 2019, we can see a significant reduction in the amount of littering in those locations. So the average that we had when we started out, excluding the chewing gum because it's a bit difficult, so the paint on the top it's excluded because it's very hard to take out. So we have gone from 5.89 items per 10 square meters to 2.6, which is a significant reduction. And this is the way it's measured. Cigarettes, butt, paper, snuff, plastic, other rubbish. So we can see a significant change. And since they had this change, they decided, let's make a campaign on this. So plan started. we wanted to make a campaign. Litter belongs in the waste bin. And the main thing, there was a law. You could get a fine for littering in Sweden. Never happened before. You had for general waste, yes. But littering, throwing a cigarette butt, it could cost you roughly 80 euros. So the campaign, it started in the public space, but it was telling the people, be aware, everybody makes mistakes. And the digital info signs we had in the city, in the subway, you got exposed with a message. And with the result we had in 2022, this campaign was run in 2023. So we are very excited to wait for the actual measurement for 2024, which is not in yet. But the message was, and I couldn't get the real translation, but it's basically, it's a oops, we say. This went wrong, this was careless. For the snuff, which is a big problem, the white snuff is a big problem, it's everywhere. I use it myself, but I know better. I chuck it in the right place. But we were actually saying, this could get expensive, which was a good message. And we do believe that campaign works. And I want to talk about something else that we have a big challenge with, food waste collection. Food waste in Stockholm, it's a commodity. You can make so much of it. And the plan is, and we are, collecting the waste separately, in a separate bin, going to the gas plant, making biogas for the buses, and biofertilizer for the farmers. If we collected all possible food waste in Stockholm, we could run 700 buses for 1 year, or 1,800 waste trucks for 1 year, with the fuel coming from food waste. However, we could only get 80% with the brown bags because of limitations in the city. So we introduced a new system with the green bag, which is targeting the remaining 20%. And some statistics that we have, you can see this year, 2022 and 2023, you see a big spike. Here it became mandatory by law to collect food waste for the public. The other spike we can see is here. This is when the restaurants and all the small businesses had mandatory to collect food waste. And some statistics we have, 52% of the food waste that is produced, we today collect. The city's target is the green line, and it's 70%. So 68,000 tons were produced, 34,201 tons was collected, and that gives us the figure 52%. And hopefully we do better this year. And as I mentioned before, 80% is collected in the brown paper bag in a separate bin. The remaining 20 will be in the new system with the green bag. And mandatory by law. And this is what we said. Changing behavior takes time. Communication and campaigns are essential. However, when it comes to law, that's where the big change comes. We see that. And the new target that we heard from the politicians is that we need to go to 77% within 2 years, which is also a challenge. And the challenge we have is that Stockholm is old. You have working. This is a hassle for the ones collecting. You are coming from basements. You are collecting in big bags. You have vacuum waste system with only one fraction. So this green bag is enabling all of these systems to be able to collect food waste. And in this sense, we can collect from the 200,000 citizens that we couldn't collect from before by introducing this green bag system. And with this green bag, we needed a facility to sort. So we built a new sorting plant. It started in 2012, and it was inaugurated only 2 months back. And it was built to separate the green bag. It was the main purpose of this. However, since it's located next to Exergy, which is our incineration plant that makes electricity and district heating, Stockholm has, by the way, the biggest district heating net in the world. If you stretch it out, it takes from Stockholm to Madrid. So it's 3,000 kilometers of district heating pipe. Between those two stations, there is a conveyor belt. So what we talked about here earlier, that the food waste is separated, and we use the near-infrared technology to detect the green bag, but we take plastic and metals also. So before it goes to incineration, we separate the plastic from the residual waste. And this is how it works. We have 5 inlet points. The first is separate the green bag, then you separate the ferrous metal, then you separate the non-ferrous metal. After that, you go for the plastic separation, and lastly, we send the rest for incineration. For every container we take into the system that is having 7 to 8 tons of waste, we find almost 1 ton of plastic. And that is unbelievable. I wanted to show you this picture, because normally when you build a system like this, you do it in 2 football fields. We went up. So this is 6 floors high. So the building is 35 meters high. So it's a very intricate puzzle to walk around in there. And you see, this is the output for the non-ferrous metal plastic. And we have a baling machine for the plastic, which we send for further sorting for recovery. And the remainder goes to energy recovery. So this, we call it a near facility because that's what it is. If we introduce a blue bag, we can handle that as well. So we reduce the CO2 emissions with 33,000 tons per year. We can collect 20,000 tons of green bags that we can sort out. We have a capacity to receive 660 tons of waste every year. And annually, 160 tons will pass through this. However, we have many programs for separation and source. So we do believe that this amount of waste that we are having today in the studio will be reduced. So in 2030, we think it's going to be roughly around 140,000 tons. This was a very expensive plant. And we better sort out those bags, because if we don't, I think we will be questioned for what we do. But one thing, training or educating or nudging people to use the green bag for only food waste, that is also an extremely big challenge. Because this green bag can be used in the bathroom, everywhere. So it's a challenge to change the behavior of how you do this. And finally, a little slide about our deposit system in Sweden, which is funded by itself. It's owned 50% by the brewery companies, and the rest is the retail stores that sell food or any. So it's a 25% share each of the big units and the small units. 2023, we collected 3.09 billion packages, and that's plastic or cans, so PET bottles or cans. Correction. We sold 3.09 packaging, but it came back 2.72, meaning that 88.5%, and the aim is 90. You think you're going to be there, but the way the system works, if you get too good, the funding of the system itself, the deposit system, they will have less income, because their income is the difference between the one we sold and the one we collected. So that's the income for administration and everything. So in tons, we can see it's quite a lot. And it's going to be interesting to see how Germany, because I believe they have much more. But in average, for each person, we collect 258 pieces, which I do believe is a good figure. And this year, it turns 40 years. So they have a lot of celebrations, and there's a lot of campaigns going on on how we can improve this. Finally, some conclusions. For the pneumatic waste collection, it's convenient in new houses. It's very difficult to implement in already built areas because of we don't know what's in the ground, and that is common for everybody. Running all the time. Only cost effective from a certain scale, and we learn from history and we develop the system as the city develops. More dense, we need to change the way the system is built. And from the municipality side, it's necessary to have the managing side needs to be skilled, otherwise it won't work. For the littering, tidy neighborhood unites the community. That's the message. If everybody is doing good, it's very bad to make bad as a singular person. The law of the fine of littering, very important. It makes a difference. And food waste collection in crowded cities. Separate collection in brown bag. When we say brown bag, we say separate collection. It means that a separate bin. That is far superior than even when you mix it. The green bag is a system where we try to enable the remaining that we can't reach with the brown bag. If we had other choice but the green plastic bag, we would have taken it. But it was a choice made in 2012. And the new technology, we can change the system as we go. Different colors. So, sorry.
Hello, I have a question for Lars. So you talked about changing the behavior of people to moving to green bags, and I was actually wondering also if before you start to implementing like the suction systems for the trash, if you run engagement programs for communities to accept this change or somehow be open to the fact that this change is coming? I don't know if that was clear.
I'm thinking about if I understood the question correctly. It was about the green bag, right?
No, so I think on the one hand you mentioned the green bag and that you are trying to make the behavioral changes within the community.
Correct.
But I was wondering actually even before that, because you're actually asking for quite a lot from the communities to make the change in the trashing system, right?
Yes.
So I'm wondering if before you're asking them to make this change, if you're doing any engagement programs within each of these communities to make sure that they're open to this and that they understand the necessity.
Yes, we do. The municipality is we communicate in intentions that we have early in the year, and we try to follow up. And if I understand the question right, again, we do engage, especially with the those who have the pneumatic waste collection system, we have introduced to them an application where they can follow how much they dispose, when they dispose. And we can actually see that the purity, there is less plastic in the residual waste. We collect more plastic in the plastic bin. So I do believe that the explanation why we need a green bag, for instance, because plastic is it's an infected topic, but the benefits of using it for this particular purpose, people understand. Is that answering your question? Or?
More or less, we can talk later. Hilde from Ecologie Molmik. It's also a question for Lars, who I feel made us all very jealous about living in Stockholm and what's going on there. You showed us some statistics about how litter in the street decreased enormously between 2009 and 2020. I'd be interested in hearing what you would have as explanations for that decrease, which was, if I understand it correctly, before you launched the campaign. And my second question would be, you referred a lot to changing behavior also in terms of law, and using the law to make people follow rules. Is that because there is a presumption in Stockholm that when a law is there, that it will be applied? Are there fines in place? Is it an administrative fine? Is it the police that comes in? So, yes, any elements in regards to that. Thank you.
To the use of law, Swedish people are very law-abiding for everything that comes. We watch with joy in France, for instance. Every time they raise the fuel price, they're on the streets. Never happens in Sweden. We accept. And I don't know why it is like that, but we see that no matter how many behavioral changing processes we put in place, as soon as the law comes in, then you can see the effect. As we saw in the curve of the spike of the food collection. 2021, 2022, there was a small. 23, there was a big, because then the public law came. And in regards of the fine, I don't think people care much about the fine. We never heard anybody get fined so far. But the fact that the fine is there, it makes you think twice before you drop it on the street. And in terms of the positive change from 19 and forward, there were talks about if COVID was involved, less people on the street, but the reasoning I heard only yesterday, actually, is that people are getting more aware, more responsible. This plastic in the seas, you see every day, and we are so few in our country. So the impact that we do is actually, in the whole world, small. But people still keep striving to do the best. And the fact that less and less people are smoking.
It's a good evolution.
Absolutely.
I have a question for Stockholm. I have a town planner, and here in Brussels, we have very big historical center. So what are the possibilities to build such a vacuum system in a historical city center like Brussels, like Stockholm itself? Consider the law protecting the buildings, the law protecting all the things, the design, the historical design. So I wanted, if it's possible, to implement such a system in an historical center.
Yes, it is actually. We did this in Seville in, was it 1992? Sorry. Yeah, 1992. And the thing is that if you're allowed to have inlets on the pavement or in the public, that you don't need to go inside the buildings, then you need to manage the excavation outside. And usually you can do that in the street, and you can have the inlet in the sidewalk. Just like a public bin, but you connect it to the system.
And how deep is the installation working? So,
Usually, in our design criteria when it comes to the excavation, we want to have 80 centimeters of soil on top of the pipe. There are examples of where we have the pipe much more shallow and you protect it, because if heavy traffic comes, you can affect the pipe, so to speak.
okay, and so you can manage the price also, as you told us, the 25 euro per square meters, or
Yeah.
because that's always the problem here. For example, in Brussels, or all in the commune of Brussels, sometimes the center is very poor. We have poor possibilities of financial. So, if it is worth to do it or not.
Excavation is always the bigger cost. The pipe is not that expensive, but the excavation and restoration of the street, if it's a pavement or cobblestones. But I do believe that the environmental benefits, once you have the system in, you don't need to come in with the big trucks. But if you do think about implementing the system, think 5 or 6 fractions. Because this is what's coming in Europe in 2027. So if you plan the system now, plan it for more fractions. You can use different kind of bags or different kind of inlets.
Okay, thank you.